So this was Terry taking black and Eva taking white. Let's take a look. So everything's straightforward so far. No real issues. Yeah, everything's looking really good so far.
Yeah, it's all just keys.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough to. I haven't found a mistake yet. I'm loving this. I would say this move at L17 is probably the first questionable move of the game. I think everything else is like, whether it's perfectly optimal, who knows? But I think we can probably say that either a move at O17, a move at R17, or a move at R14 are probably going to be your best bets right now. It's a little tough to say which one is going to be best here. I think personally, I'd probably like O17. It works really nicely with this high stone at F7, at F16. And when black plays here, it's a little too far away to get a really good attack on these stones in the lower right. So this would probably be my first instinct, but I don't think you can go wrong with a 3-3 or an approach from the side as well. Playing over here allows black to just get an extension in the corner, and there's still an invasion point at J17. The Aji from G18 also, if black plays that later on, could be kind of annoying. And so yes, you've mapped out a little bit of territory over here for white, but black gets a solidified corner, and corners are just worth more than the side. So that might be the first move that I would say is a mistake. And playing at R14 is perfectly fine too. No big concerns either way. This is I really like this move by white. I think the natural instinct is to play a 2-space extension. However, in this case, it might not be as good because this is a little too close together, and black stones here are very well placed. So I think that white coming back and playing at P18 is really nice. So really good move, Eva. This looks great. This might be a little bit of a small move, but it's kind of hard to figure out what the best move on the board is. Because all the stones on this side are low, it doesn't necessarily make sense to spend a move to try to invade here. So I think this might be a little bit of a slack move, but I might be more inclined to play something like this and potentially try to establish a base over here. Black isn't necessarily going, let's say white were to play something over here. Black isn't necessarily going to want to play here right away, because after white kicks, now this black shape is a little bit over concentrated, and white's position is quite okay. So because black doesn't necessarily want to play at R12, white doesn't necessarily want to play at R12. And so that might be why you might play at a M3 or maybe a shoulder hit here or something like that. And again, you took the move to R12, and black took that move that you're going to want. This group is certainly not going to in danger of dying, but the more it's trapped, the more territory that this area over here is going to become, and the more territory that this can become. So as long as black's going to be able to get an attack on this, which it seems likely, this is going to be get some territory from this side by attacking. It's going to be a good result for black. So I would probably extend here. Black would play here, and then maybe come in and jump out like this. This might be what I would expect to happen. Let's see what showed up in the game. So Eva, do you think, hindsight 2020, do you think this may have been your best option? Oh, let me rephrase the question. It's by the way I asked it. It might not be the best move. What do you think? What do you think I might have an issue with?
I'm playing a contact move against a weak stone.
Exactly right. So the reason why I had us come at D5 first, black plays here, and then something like this, is I want to leave some weaknesses over here, right? Because later on, there's an Atari, and then there's a peep here as well. So I want to leave some weaknesses over here and not make the group too strong. But the other part of that is I really want to leave open this weakness over here. If I were to come and pincer directly, this might be a little bit of a dangerous fight for me. Mm-hmm. But after I've built up a stone here, let's say black extends, something like this might happen. Now, when white pincers, this stone is really coming under some severe pressure. So I'm trying to kind of preserve the Aji, the weakness that exists here, and play elsewhere first, build up a little bit of a shape, and then come back and play here later on. So by playing here directly, what you're basically doing is allowing black to get a completely solid shape here. And yeah, sure, white's not really in any danger of dying anymore, but you didn't really gain too much territory. All you've done is just solidified black, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so it's a kind of an Aji Keshi move. Excuse me. hard to say whether H5 or G4 is that much better. I'm not going to worry about that. But I think that maybe instead of J5, black would have been better to play here. White's going to play here, and now black can play J5. And the nice thing about this is you leave open a cut here at G4 later on, and you're still expanding your territory. You're reducing the eye space of this white group. So definitely getting this extension at G3 would be really nice. And it's not like white can really play elsewhere right now, because if black can cut through and very easily attack either this group or these 3 stones. So this may have been a lost opportunity for black by playing here. Now I think that white should sacrifice the stone. Actually, it's not a sacrifice. White can cut, excuse me. If black plays here, white plays here. If black pushes, then it's going to be hard for these 3 stones to get captured. If black comes on this side, then white's able to live quite nicely here and make this group a little bit over concentrated and still keep that weakness at K4. So I think that black playing at J5 might have been a mistake, and again, better at G3. A little bit of a lost opportunity here, Eva. You could have cut and had a little bit better result.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this black group is pretty strong, so the Hane might be a little bit too aggressive right now. Black should cut immediately. White has to come back and protect, and now black can get a nice attack on this group. And so because black's pretty strong here, I expect this to be a nice result for black. So black's made a nice position here, built up some territory here, and white really hasn't gotten that much. Allowing white to extend out just means that, okay, sure, you get to keep this territory, but you're not building it up that much. Excuse me, this is black. You build up a little bit over here, but now your influence or your territory that you're mapping out over here is almost gone.
Right.
So definitely a missed opportunity at H6. So you don't want to let your opponent Hane at the head of 2 stones. Definitely extend one more time, Eva. You're not necessarily getting a ton of territory out of this move, but you're also making sure that black is not sealing you in, and is not going to be able to build up its own territory, right? Because imagine if this were to happen, and later on black might play moves like this. There's some potential later on for some outward influence, and this move at F7 isn't really helping all that much to either attack this group or build up that much eye shape over here. After all these extensions, this group is perfectly alive. There's no risk to it anymore. So if you're going to play locally, I would definitely extend at J8. Black came back. Yep. So good move by white. Yeah, this is good. Obviously, if black plays away, white's going to come and follow up with something like this to really attack this group. So good move by both sides. Yeah, so this move's kind of interesting. There's a lot of Aji that exist here with maybe a move like this. If black plays here, then you can cut, and it's not exactly pleasant for black. If black plays here, there's still a lot of Aji that exists here. Something like this could happen, and you can capture these 3 stones.
That's pretty cool. I didn't see that.
Yeah, and this is a pretty common shape that happens kind of frequently. And let me, if you guys don't mind, I'll show you a position where it shows up a little pretty frequently. So you might have seen it from a pincer joseki where, oops, excuse me. Sorry, I'm going a little bit off on a tangent, but it should become relevant at a certain point. Kind of the old variation. You'll see black sometimes play here.
Yeah.
The standard response is, if you're going to play locally, if you're not going to tanuki, is to respond at C13. However, a lot of players really like to respond at D12 because it gets them up to the 4th line, and kind of theory-wise makes sense. Does anyone know what the weak point of this group is? Why we wouldn't play at D12?
C13.
Exactly, C13. It's very similar to that shape that we saw in the game, where there's that kind of cut that you have that looks a little innocuous. And so now, excuse me, now black can come in and capture the corner. And so this move, which seems really, like a good move, it's getting you up on the actual line, is actually leaving open that weakness for you. And again, it's the same as in the game, where even though this move gets you up on the 4th line, you're still leaving open that cut at C15. So you'll just have to be mindful of that later on.
Yes.
Let's go back. So let's take a quick look at territory. Who do we think's ahead? Like, what do we think the scores are and by how much?
Well, black has more corners and a big side. White has a big side, but I think black's ahead.
So let's do a quick. Oh, sorry, Terry. Do you think anything different?
I haven't actually counted it, but it feels like black is a little ahead.
I would agree with that, right? I would say that, we have at least 20 points here, maybe 25 to 30 in this lower right corner, give or take, for black, another 15 in this upper right corner. So let's round up to 45, 50. And then we have roughly about 30 points here, give or take, maybe a little bit more. So we'll say black is close to 80 points. White has 2, 4, 6. So this may be 25 points in the upper side for white with a couple invasion points still available, another 15 to 20 here. So we're maybe at 40, 45 for white, and then maybe about 15 here. So we're about 60 for white plus Comey, give or take a few points, and maybe we'll be generous. It's maybe 65, 70 points, something along those lines. So I definitely think black is ahead. Now, why does that matter? Well, that's going to affect how white should play right now, how aggressive white should play. So here, white knows it's behind, right? White needs to do something in order to catch up that difference. So just by playing these territory moves and allowing black to solidify, that's not going to be enough. What do you do when you're behind? Well, you need to find weaknesses in your opponent's shape so you can attack. So what I would be doing here, instead of playing at N5, I might be trying to, of course, the weakness over here, but I might also be trying to attack a little bit. I might be trying to put some pressure on this group that doesn't have much eyes and break into the territory that's mapping here. If I just give my opponent everything that's been mapped out on the board, I'm going to lose. So when you're behind, you have to play differently. You can't just keep playing the same game. You can't just keep playing, solid moves that's going to map out the territories of the board. You have to change the dynamic. And so this is a really good time to say, okay, well, I'm a little behind. This is a big move. I certainly don't want to let my opponent get it. Because I don't want them to expand over here, reduce how much I'm going to get. It's a good theory, good idea, but maybe wrong execution. And similarly, if you know you're behind at this point, right? Again, we can take a look. We can say, well, you know what? Maybe I have to invade here. Maybe I can't give my opponent everything that they're getting, and so black will come out, and now you've severely reduced how much territory is here. And you still leave open, some semblance of attack on this side. So, it's really important to keep a rough estimate. I don't need exact points, but like just within 5-10 points. If you're ahead, you can play a much softer game than if you're behind. So black is going to be all too happy to respond to these moves. So definitely recommend counting. It's very much undervalued at the Q level, but I think it really is going to influence what moves you should be playing. So white Han is here. Again, I will say this cut is not super damaging, but it's basically free for black because black is super strong here. And black is also strong over here. So something that black could consider, although, just Haneing here is also fine. Again, black is ahead. Black doesn't need to do anything. If black just wanted to jump out here and break up the formation, that's okay too. Because again, black does have that decent lead that we were talking about. So maybe this move seems a little questionable. I guess you're trying to protect the weakness that exists over here while also protecting this point too.
Yeah.
Was that the reason for it? Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say this shape is actually pretty flexible. It's really hard for black to get a good attack on these two stones. So let's say white were to play elsewhere, just, something, just something over here, right? If black plays here, white's going to be able to connect these two stones back. And this is a perfectly okay result for white. Black spent a lot of moves to not really get into territory. If black plays over here, then white's going to be able to connect back, right? So it's actually pretty tough to get a really good attack on these two stones, and
Okay.
especially because you're behind, you probably want to. You don't necessarily have time to protect all of your groups. You want to try to exploit any weaknesses that do exist, so like this move here, or potentially this peep here, right? These are the things that we should be kind of looking at,
Mhm.
or trying to expand your center influence, something along those lines. But just following your opponent's moves might not be enough at this point. Yep, so this is a good move. It's going to be really tough to get territory here, again, because you don't have anything to attack. And so all this thickness here isn't really going to be that useful. And because there's, it's kind of like an open bag. They can come in from the top, and, black can come in from either the left side or the upper side over here. This is really not going to amount to very much in the end. So, it's not a bad thought. It's just we may need to reevaluate what we're doing and try to play a little bit faster, and really try to, maybe now we should be playing the big end game moves, something like this. Maybe we can build up some influence this way and get these extra stones over here to try to help out. Again, it's a little bit of a tough situation for white, because there's, when if you're behind, you need something to attack in order to catch up, and I'm not really sure where it's going to come from. We can do a few more moves, and I want to be mindful that we have a couple games, but so again, you're behind here. You have to be aggressive. You have to attack. Just playing softly is not going to leave enough for you, right? And so even if it's not going to get you the best result, just preserving that aji is already going to be better. Now your opponent needs to live with this area, these two stones here. You can also continue the attack, and something like this. Just preserving that aji, that weakness on those black stones, is already a better result for you. But again, you can't be submissive when you're behind. Yeah. So who ended up winning this game?
I did by 1.5. It was very close.
Yeah, I think as long as you don't allow white to really get too much in the center, it should still be a pretty good game for black. So maybe that happened. I'm not sure the final result, but just mindful of time. Any questions on the stuff I said so far?
No, thank you very much.
Yeah, very helpful.